I never imagined that a single phone call could lead me to a life that needed saving more than any I'd ever encountered. It was late afternoon, the sky covered with a gray veil, and rain began to fall in slow, rhythmic drops. I was closing up the shelter for the day when my phone buzzed. The caller ID was unfamiliar, but the voice on the other end trembled with urgency. "There's a cat," the man said. "He's just been lying under a car for days. He doesn't move. I think he might be blind." That was all I needed to hear. Within minutes, I grabbed my rescue bag, jumped into my car, and drove through the growing storm toward the address he gave me. I didn't know what to expect, but my gut told me this one was going to be different. When I arrived, the street was quiet, almost eerily so. Puddles reflected the flickering light of a nearby street lamp. The man who called me stood in front of a rusted sedan, pointing underneath. "He's still there," he whispered, as if speaking too loudly would shatter something fragile. I crouched down and looked beneath the car. That's when I saw him, a frail, trembling figure curled into himself, as if trying to disappear. His fur was patchy and thin, clinging to skin stretched too tightly over bones. His eyes were clouded over, like frozen glass, unmoving and dull. Yet even in his silence, there was something painfully aware about him. He knew we were watching. He was waiting. I reached out slowly, speaking in the gentlest voice I could muster. "It's okay, baby. I'm here to help." And then it happened. He turned his head not toward the light, not toward the movement, but toward my voice. That single, slow motion of trust was enough to make my throat tighten. He couldn't see me, but somehow, he knew I was there. Very carefully, I slid a towel under him. He didn't resist. He didn't meow. He just let go as though he had finally decided to surrender to hope. I placed him in a soft carrier and drove straight to the emergency vet clinic, every red light feeling like an eternity. I kept whispering to him the entire ride, "We'll get you safe, little one. You're not alone anymore." The vet took one look and rushed him to the back room. I stood there, soaking wet, heart racing, holding the now empty towel against my chest. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Finally, the doctor returned. "He's completely blind," she said quietly. "Both eyes are non-functional, possibly since birth or due to trauma. Severe malnutrition, dehydration, secondary infections, and early signs of organ stress. He's a fighter, but he's fading fast." She paused, studying my face, perhaps wondering if I'd be willing to go through with it. "I'll do whatever it takes," I replied. "Just don't give up on him." And so began Calvin's second chance at life. We named him Calvin, strong, gentle, dignified. A name that said, "You belong." He stayed at the clinic overnight. Fluids, antibiotics, warming pads, nutrient-rich slurry through a syringe. Every hour mattered, and somehow he pulled through. The next morning, I brought him home to our rescue shelter, where a private, quiet corner had been prepared just for him. I set him down on a soft fleece bed, the air gently warmed by a nearby heater, and placed a shallow bowl of blended food in front of him. He sniffed, then slowly, shakily, he lifted his head and began to eat. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't frantic. It was deliberate, like someone who hadn't tasted safety in so long. He wasn't quite sure if it was real. That moment brought tears to my eyes, not because he was eating, but because he believed he was allowed to. The first few days were delicate. I visited him every hour, not always with food or medicine, sometimes just to sit beside him and speak. "Hi, Calvin. It's me, just me. You're doing great." He would turn his head slightly in my direction, ears twitching. Sometimes he purr. By day 5, he had gained weight, not much, but enough. He began to walk in small, cautious circles, memorizing the space around him using only scent and touch. I placed small bells around the room, soft wind chimes near the door, and a toy with a faint squeak in his sleeping area so he could orient himself. He was learning, not just to survive, but to explore. In the second week, I introduced soft tactile games. I'd hide tiny treats along scent trails, lead him with my voice, guide him gently with touches along his back. He responded with growing confidence, his movements steadier, his body stronger. By week 3, he began to play. He batted at a crinkly toy mouse. He rolled onto his back for belly rubs. He climbed onto a low shelf where the sun hit in the morning. He lay there for hours, soaking in light he could not see, but clearly could feel, and every time I called his name, his ears would perk up and his little paws would carry him, sometimes wobbly, sometimes perfect, in my direction. We made a point of keeping his world consistent. Furniture stayed in place. Food bowls were always in the same spot, and every night I would sit by him as he dozed off, whispering, "Good night, Calvin. I'll be right here when you wake up." He never saw my face, but he knew my footsteps, my breath, the way my fingers tapped on the floor, and he knew I loved him. By the end of month 1, Calvin was strong enough to meet other cats. We began with Ember, our gentlest female, calm and welcoming. I watched anxiously as she approached him, their whiskers brushing. Calvin flinched slightly, but Ember didn't react. She sat, she purred, and slowly, he relaxed. In the weeks that followed, he became part of our family. Calvin now shared meals, naps, and playtime with our other rescues. He had favorite spots under the sunny window, beside the heater, next to the big gray tabby named Milo. He still preferred to find his way by scent and memory, but sometimes, when he was feeling playful, he'd chase a sound as if it were light. His eyes didn't see, but his soul saw everything. 3 months after that rainy evening, Calvin was unrecognizable from the cat we found under the car. He was fluffy, full, radiant, confident. He would walk up to visitors, brush against their legs, and purr, not from fear, but from pride. He had claimed his space in the world. People often ask me, how does he manage without sight? Doesn't he suffer? And I tell them this: he doesn't suffer, he adapts. He doesn't see with his eyes, he sees with his heart. Calvin doesn't know pity. He knows love, safety, and warmth. He knows the rhythm of kindness and the shape of gentle hands. His story is a reminder that broken does not mean hopeless, that blind does not mean helpless, that love is not about what we see, but what we choose to believe in. If Calvin could speak, I think he'd say, "I didn't need to see the world. I just needed someone to see me, and now that someone is you."